Honey, I Blew Up the Kid flips the premise of the original film and sees the Zelensky's new toddler enlarged all the way up to the size of Godzilla. It's been at least 20 years since either of us have seen this one, so let's see how it holds up. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me on this episode, she's much bigger than usual. It's Tara.
Is that a fat joke?
No, it's not a fat joke. But I knew you'd think it was, which is why I said it.
I had 2 cinnamon rolls today, all right? I shouldn't have disclosed that to you.
This was the one opportunity for an innocent Tara's big joke, and I took it, right? The softball came at me, revved up the bat, and I took a swing.
Right, I know I look good.
So yes, we're here today to talk about Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. We're doing a little season of movies that are, sequels, number 2s, if you will. We did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids last year, so this was one of the ones on the table. This is the sequel where instead of shrinking 2 of his kids and the neighbor's kids and getting the adventure in the backyard with the ants and the giant spiders
Oreos.
And the Oreos, we instead they've got a new kid.
There's no spiders. Scorpion.
Oh, quite right. It was a scorpion, yes. Now, isn't there a spider in the attic at one point? Before they go into the garden? I feel like there might have been.
I don't know. All I remember is the scorpion because it was really scary. And
Okay.
it kills a major character.
Yeah. Well, it's a podcast, so I'm glad you eventually said something to that.
Just edit it out.
It's the...
Edit out the silence.
No. No, it reflects purely on you in this case, so I'll leave it in. The glare I'm getting for the audio listeners.
We need to hire an editor. An unbiased editor.
But yes, welcome everyone. Yes, they've got a new toddler, and he gets, instead of shrunk, he gets enlarged to the point where later in the movie he's straight up kaiju sized, and that's the premise of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kid sequel, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. And the word up is very important in that title. If you miss the word up, it sounds really bad.
That is awful. Why would you even say that? I actually think the title is bad because Honey, I Blew Up the Kid implies that an explosion.
It does, yeah. Okay. Well, what would you call it instead, though?
I don't know.
Honey,
Attack of the 50-foot baby.
Honey, no, you have to keep the format, so it'd have to be Honey, I Enlarged the Kid. That sounds kind of dodgy in its own way.
No, you say Attack of the 50-foot baby.
Honey.
A Honey, I Shrunk the Kids
no.
story.
No, this is terrible. I hate what you've done here.
There's a colon in there somewhere.
There's already a comma in the goddamn title. We don't need any more. That's
more punctuation.
That's enough punctuation for one title. Thank you very much. Oh dear. So this came out a couple of years after the first film. This was 1992, so this was 3 years after the original film. And the cast do pretty much. I mean, not the neighbors actually. The neighbors are gone, but the main family do all return. Although the oldest daughter is off to college at the start of the movie, so she's basically just a cameo. And goodbye, Amy. Which, she was one of the anchors of the kids of the last movie, so it's kind of a shame in a way. But
it does seem strange that she's gone, but I don't mind that we get to focus on the son,
Nick,
and then Adam. Yes, Nick. Thank you.
Yes, Nick's the kid from the last one who's now a teenager, and their new kid, who the titular kid who is blown up, is Adam. Which I think that's all fine, but it does kind of feel like you could have just set the movie like 2 weeks earlier, so the sister was still around. So you could just say she's off to college at the end of summer. She's off to college in a couple of weeks. That you could have just said that, but whatever. That's the thing. So
maybe she didn't want to be in it. Maybe there was some sort of scheduling thing. Maybe she really was in college.
Maybe there was a dispute. Maybe she Well, that's the question. Did she want a bigger role, but they just didn't want to give her it, or did she not want to be in it at all? And like they basically got the legal teams involved and said, no, you have to be in
Maybe.
it, but we've got it down to just a couple of scenes. One of those things.
She probably had an agent who was like, well, they have to have you. They can't recast you, so ask for more.
But instead,
and then they're like, you're a woman. We don't give you more.
But instead, we have teenage Kerry Russell, who acts as the love interest for Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly is kind of surreal because I'm so used to Kerry Russell being at least in her 30s. So it's really weird watching this and seeing like 15-year-old Kerry Russell.
I guess this is definitely my first introduction to her because I watched this in the theater. And I did watch a lot of Felicity growing up when it was on TV.
I never did. I don't even know what I saw Kerry Russell in first, but I mean, the first thing I think of really is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which obviously is much, much more recent.
Yes, yeah.
So,
and she's in like the Americans, which is a huge success, and
yeah, people love that show. Yeah,
I want to say she did another show right after Felicity that was pretty big also, and she's in a show now, I think, right? The Dictator or something.
I don't know. You're asking me questions I don't have the answers for.
You're the TV guy.
I don't watch it every TV. She's in The Diplomat. Is that what you're thinking of?
The Diplomat, yes.
I think Diplomat and Dictator are very far apart as far as meanings of the word go.
Well, sure. I mean,
a dictator literally refuses to be diplomatic.
I definitely have not watched the show, so I was just going based on hearsay.
Okay.
Because people were talking about the Emmys, the nominations come out like this week or something.
I cannot, however, find any other big TV show she was in between Felicity and The Americans, so I think you're making that up.
All I remember is when she cut her hair, the outrage that occurred.
I can tell you that she was in the odd random movie that you've probably seen, like We Were Soldiers, Mission Impossible 3. She was in like 2 episodes of Scrubs. For people who like Scrubs. But there you go. That's what I got. Oh, was she in that bad movie Dark Skies? Is that the movie I'm thinking of? I think it is. Yeah, that was bad. Anywho, so she's in there. The other main new cast member that's worth mentioning is we've got kind of an antagonist who's like an evil scientist who's Wayne's boss. Because Wayne, because he's proven his ray from the first movie works, he's actually got a job at this big lab now, and they've built like a high-tech version of the beam. But his boss doesn't like him, and he's like corporate, he's Bob Evil, basically. But he's actually
evil.
He's played by John Shea, who is Lex Luthor in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. So I was delighted to see him.
That's very cool. I've watched some of that show, but like not very much of it. So I didn't know who this guy was, but I thought he was a really good Bob Evil.
Yeah, no, he's perfect. He plays the exact same character in Superman, basically.
Very smug.
Yeah, and then a couple of minor things to point out. Ron Canada's got a small role.
Yeah, Ron Canada.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I know this guy from something. And then Lloyd Bridges has got a role as well. He pops up as a character about halfway through. So we've got an interesting enough cast. Can I just point out? So the kid Adam that gets blown up, he obviously is played by twins, right? And this is quite common for roles like this where they can swap between the kids because there's like laws about how many hours you can make a child this young work and so on.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that on IMDb, one of them has a photo of this movie and the other one does not have any photo. And all I can think is like, whoever submitted the photo for one of them, why didn't you submit the same photo for the other one? That feels a bit shitty.
No one would know. No one knows which one is which.
Exactly. I couldn't tell.
No, seemed like the same kid the whole time.
Maybe the joke is that one of them is actually 7 foot tall, and so there was no special effects.
One of them came out full size.
Yeah, so one's just the real toddler, and the other one's just really 7 foot tall.
That's why I've never had kids. I'm just too afraid of that happening.
7 foot baby.
I don't want an extra birth.
What a deep cut ref. What?
That scene was traumatic. What are you talking about?
A deep cut reference to a very, very, very deep vaginal scene. I'm sorry, that was a horrible sentence.
It really was.
Yeah, Extra was a movie we did a bonus episode on. So if you want to see that or listen to it, you can get that over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV.
Good movie.
It's a surprisingly good little movie. It's a good little sci-fi horror movie, but it does have a very, very memorable, like, non-natural birth scene. Let's just say that. And there's always this worry that YouTube might think, because we're doing a kids movie, that this is intended for kids. I hope the phrase of vaginal will just make it clear to YouTube's algorithm. No, this is not intended for children to listen to. Just
okay, but don't be surprised if you get some emails from YouTube in the morning.
That's a purely scientific word. I'm sure there was much nastier ways of saying that. I think I did okay. So that's the character setup. The family's moved to Vegas, so they're in a new neighborhood.
Well, they've moved outside of Vegas. They're in like Nevada.
Oh, sure, yeah,
like,
okay, but
there's like San Miguel, Nevada, or something. I can't remember that.
But they basically go in and out of Vegas like throughout the film pretty constantly, so they're obviously like close by.
Yeah, they're in some suburbs outside of Vegas. Yeah,
because it's not just the ending on the strip. There's also scenes where you see like Wayne buying stuff at a store, and he comes out and you can see casinos in the background and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we have the new setting. Wayne's got a bunch of inventions in his house again. Although they seem to work more this time compared to the first movie, which maybe is like an intentional little.
He's got some money behind him now.
He's gotten better at his inventions. There's some, a high-tech mailbox that's creeping out the mailman and stuff like that.
And the neighbors. They're so nosy. Well,
there's a running gag of these two female neighbors who are like always like walking past and looking at it and going, "I hear he's an inventor," and just like reacting to any sort of weird noise that comes out of the house.
Yeah, one of them is played by Julia Sweeney from Saturday Night Live. Oh. The other one I don't know, but she kind of looks like the kind of redneck wife from Men in Black, but she's got like a similar face, but I don't think it's her.
Linda Carlson's the actress's name of the other one. I'll click on her just in the off chance that you're right and it's Men in Black. I'm just going to click on her and see if she's credited for Men in Black.
I think she would have a picture that would be more recognizable.
Nah.
They have a similar face though.
Nah, I'm afraid not. It feels like she's got a lot of like small roles and like random episodes of TV shows. Judging from a quick glance, at least of her 90s stuff. She seemed to stop in about 2002. So,
hope everything's okay.
I'm sure it is. Well, she died in 2021, so she didn't die in 2002. She had another 20 years in her.
I hope she didn't get pandemic erased.
Oh, it's 2021. It could have been. That's right in the middle of that season. But there was also a lot of regular deaths, as many as normal in those 2 years or 3 years. So
yeah,
that makes sense too. So, yeah, that's the basic setup. Obviously, there's an accident that leads to the youngest kid, Adam, getting hit with a ray. Unlike the first movie, the growth is more gradual, and I suspect that's because it would be very hard to build a whole movie about him just being kaiju-sized immediately. So they do this thing where it's more
gets activated.
They get a lot of like hijinks out of him just being like adult-sized, and then a bit bigger than that, and then so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start spoiler free, of course. I don't think I said that. But I'm sure anyone's really that concerned about spoilers for Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, but we'll start spoiler free, as is tradition. And we'll get into it. I hadn't seen this in a long time. What are you giggling at?
As is tradition.
It is tradition.
Yes, it is law.
By the way, I've started doing a new thing, right? Where I'm keeping track of all our ratings, which I'm doing that. I've mentioned that to you. But the average of our two scores is the official score the movie gets now. So, I put out when we did District 9, I put out an image saying this movie got a 9.5 from us because that was the average of our two scores.
Ooh, that means I can rate a lot of things that I like a 10.
No, don't game the system. It should actually be a genuine score between the two of us. I don't want you trying to up the average by going too high than what you actually think. The whole point is that it's an actual average of the two of us.
Shouldn't have brought it to my attention.
Okay, I'm just going to start deducting a point or two then from every score you give by default.
We'll see.
I'll just have to course correct if I think you're at it. If you're,
I don't think you'd be capable of giving a score that wasn't your true feelings.
if you're playing if you're playing games, no, I don't mean a my score. I mean I'll just deduct it before I take the average, so that the math works out to be a reasonable score.
Well, then you're just guessing.
Well, don't make me guess. Give me a genuine score. Have the integrity, woman. Okay, integrity.
Don't you know who I am?
I know exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move along.
All right. Well, I guess we start off with the question to start the conversation proper. Tara, what did you think of Honey, I Blew Up the Kid?
Well, I remember really enjoying it, but I saw it as a kid.
Yeah, you'd have been like 5 or 6 when this came out, probably.
When did it come out?
92?
Yeah, so it'd be like 7.
Okay.
And I definitely remember going to see it, and we had it on VHS, and it was one I watched a lot. It was an easy watch. I'm happy to say that I still enjoy it. I still think it's a pretty good sequel. I think it takes the premise of the characters that we like, and it adds and it does a new thing with it that's really enjoyable to watch. I think it's like genuinely funny at parts, and much like the first one, it doesn't have as much heart, but I do like the mother-son dynamic throughout the whole thing. It's not as good as the first one, but like it's still pretty fun.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect because I hadn't seen this since I was a kid. Maybe early double digits at a push, but certainly not since then. And I was having memories sort of flooding back as I was watching it, and it's definitely a weaker film than the first. It's definitely not as smart or as witty with it, like because the first film when we watched that last year, I think we were both actually really pleasantly surprised at just how well it held up in terms of just being really funny and like. Not only just it was the comedy still really on point with a lot of the character interactions and how they sort of discover and bounce off each other and things like that, but also just how good the actual adventure was of the kids going through the jungle of the garden and how that all played out. Like it's actually a really good movie with all these great sets and practical effects, and it's kind of witty and well written. I think this movie, by comparison, is more of just like a kids movie, and a lot of the comedy I do think feels a bit more broad and a bit dumber compared to the first one, which is not to say that I didn't enjoy watching it. I did, but I do think it was like I think nostalgia's doing a fair bit of the lifting for me with this one compared to the first one, whereas the first one I think actually genuinely holds up. This one I enjoyed seeing a lot of the faces. I do appreciate that it is different, like inherently, even though it's just doing a really simple switch, which is just the opposite. Okay, we made the kids small in the last one, so we'll just make them really big in this one. It does mean though it forces them to not just copy the layout of the movie though, because everything the first movie was with this adventure and the dangers of the kids, like try to survive against the giant bugs, relatively speaking, all of that is like they can't just copy and do that again because they're doing a completely different premise with this kid getting bigger. It has to be this different thing. It has to be different stakes. It has to be different scenarios. It has to be different, set piece moments. They can't just do this movie's version of that movie's things. And the structure of the movie is quite different as well because of that. So I appreciate that the idea just lends itself to like forcing them to do things differently, which I appreciate. But I do think it's weaker though. Like I think I enjoyed it well enough, but my score is definitely going to reflect that it is more of just a kids movie versus the first one, which I actually think holds up for adult, eyes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, I it's a sort of thing where I can't really praise it that much because it is kind of dumb in places, and does feel sillier. But I'm not going to be too harsh on it either.
It seems like most of the reviews that I saw on IMDb are pretty low. I didn't really look through the reviews, but I saw the score was like a 4 point something. I'm like, well, that seems kind of harsh, but
it does seem a bit harsh, yeah. But I do wonder, like I said, I feel like nostalgia is doing some lifting here for me, and I wonder if people who were a bit older at the time when it came out, teenagers and up maybe, like who did enjoy the first one when it came out because it was genuinely quite funny and witty, and then the
Mhm.
second one comes out, and it is more just a kids movie. I can imagine a lot of people at the time who were an older part of the audience probably did not like this very much when it came out because it was just a lot more
Well,
hijinksy.
it's not an adventure movie like you said. It's more of like a how do we keep this secret hidden and
Mm.
contained, and because he's a 2-year-old and you know the terrible twos and whatnot, so he's able to run around and open things and he's always putting stuff in his mouth. So,
Joe
when
is
he's a
so
giant, what does that mean?
Joe is so weird about the premise is actually I think it's almost held back in terms of like all the ideas of like what could happen and like in this situation where a 2-year-old who doesn't listen to anything you're saying and just does whatever he wants, a
Hmm.
2-year-old who is like 7 foot tall, is stronger than everyone else. The idea of what you could do with that, there's like so many things that you could like play with that premise and all the different scenarios that they could get into or the people around them could get into with him. The problem is that it's a kids movie and they have to keep it light and fun because the truth is that a lot of the situations that could come out of this are actually quite dark and they're actually quite scary. Um, he could easily squeeze someone to death at numerous
Hmm.
points in this
Oh yeah.
movie, and it never happens because it's a fun kids movie. But it almost like I almost want to see the R-rated version of this movie.
You want to see people get squished and popped?
Kind of, yeah. Like, and as far as the dumb jokes go, like a good example, right? So this is just spoiling a line of dialogue from later on in the film, but they when he's kaiju sized, it literally cuts to a Japanese person yelling, "It's Godzilla."
I actually felt that was very out of place for the film because I didn't think
Yeah, I
the
didn't like it.
jokes were at that caliber throughout the entire film, and then that one comes in, and we're like, oh, that's really silly. Um, even though, because even at when you're the audience, you're watching it, you're like, oh, they're doing like a funny version of Godzilla, but then to point it out directly like that,
Yeah,
just was pretty low hanging fruit,
yeah, I
and
didn't
not
like
in
it.
a yeah. I don't think that joke. Like it's easy to call that one out because I think it's the only one that's really like it in the whole film.
Was that noise
Something clicked.
on its own?
Yes.
There was no human intervention that caused the clicking.
My hand's right here.
I don't
They've
believe
been
you.
there the whole time.
I think you were the genesisor of the clicking, or generator of the clicking, I suppose was the word that you would use. But I'm going for silly here as I accuse Tara of being unprofessional.
I didn't know it was going to be that loud.
Well, we've learned a valuable lesson today, haven't we?
Don't tempt me.
Yeah, no, like it's the only joke that's like that. But I will say, there's definitely some of the hijinks. I think earlier on when they're trying to hide the fact that he's big and they're dressing him up, and like some of the weird excuses they're giving, I don't necessarily think a lot of that's particularly funny. That does feel a bit more like Disney Channel esque, like silly stuff, rather than genuinely like smart or like it's all kind of just. Oh no! Ignore the weird noises this tall man's making. He's just from another country. He's just he's foreign. He says weird things. Like I found that to be a little like this is definitely a bit more dumbed down than because in the first movie a lot of the jokes, and admittedly it was helped a lot by the acting and the interaction between the Selinskis and the neighbors was a big part of what made that first movie really click. Because every time like the neighbors reacted to something that was going on, it was genuinely really funny. And I guess maybe that's part of the reason why it's weaker as well, is that the replacement for that is just a couple of bit characters who walk past and make the odd face, and they're not real characters. And it's
Yeah.
a shit. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying I want them to copy those characters, especially since like I appreciate that we're going for more of an actual villain in this one. We're going for someone who's more of an
Mm-hmm.
antagonist. That's all fine and well, but
And we
nothing.
have the babysitter.
Yeah, but nothing ever lives up to like the chemistry they had in the first movie. I don't think it never achieves like anywhere close to that. I know I didn't check to see like how different the writing team was, but I don't think Stuart Gordon was back for this one.
All I saw was based on characters by Stuart Gordon and Brian Usna and some other person.
Ed Naha. Yeah. So yeah, it says characters by Stuart Gordon, Brian Usna, and Ed Naha. Story by Gary Goodrow, and then screenplay by Tom Eberhard, Peter Eibling, and Gary Goodrow. So it took 3
Good
people
job.
to write this screenplay.
That's probably less than people now.
Oh, I mean, no, like this idea of like some movies being overwritten by too many people like, doing different drafts has always been a problem. But you do notice that a lot of good movies will have like one or maybe like co-writers, and it's their script, they're the ones who redrafted it, and that was it. And then you see like these studio movies where it's like, oh no, they kept going through, like they kept getting studio notes. It's like, okay, we'll hire a new writer. They'll come in and do another draft.
Well, to defend the movie a little bit here, because there's a lot of slander happening right now, but
Come on,
I do.
It's not really. It's not good. Come on, it's okay, silly fun for
This
what it
movie
is.
is a 10. Okay.
Oh come on!
I'm telling you right
Piss
now.
off! Piss off! Wayne Selinsky's Ray has hit your score, and it's enlarged it unnaturally.
I think I do think that the movie is fun because every time you see a baby, it's a baby. Like it's a 2-year-old that's being filmed, and you could tell they kind of just worked with whatever the kid was able to give also, instead of trying to force the kid to say lines that didn't sound natural. Like for the most part, the kid sounds like a 2-year-old would talk and ask for things, and I like the way I like the way that the kid acts, which obviously is working with trainers and or like people off screen who are trying to get the kid to do stuff. But I like the way it's done in the film.
Okay, well, genuine criticism here again, and it's easy to bring this up because I've got the first movie to say, hey, look at what this did and what this movie doesn't do. Is the first movie actually had arcs? It had characters who bonded and like the whole thing with the neighbors thinking they're weirdos, but then by the end there's this respect between them. Like there's arcs. The kids even have arcs, right? And I thought that what this movie was missing is that early on it introduces this idea that Nick kind of hates his little brother because he keeps like messing with his stuff and he keeps getting in the way and ruining things. And that was fun. Those scenes were actually some of the best comedy I think early on. Was the kid kind of like sabotaging anything Nick cared about. But I thought it was going to, maybe I say think of it because I kind of remembered that it didn't. But like in a perfect world, I thought that was setting up an arc where by the end, like Nick was going to bond with his little brother, and I don't think they ever really kind of like did that. We can talk more in spoilers about what they actually do and things like that. But I don't think any of the characters really have much of a story, from the start to the end.
Those scenes are mostly setting up where our characters are at right now, what the relationship is between them, and gags that will come back later on. Like we know he likes to play with his brother's guitar, and his brother's like, "Don't touch my guitar." He's trying to hook up with the babysitter because he knows her through his job, and the kid unplugs the phone when he actually has the courage to call her. So, I mean, it's not really character arcs in that sense, but like. Not for nothing. Like there's a reason that they're there. They're just setting things up so that there's payoff later on.
Yeah, but a good script would set up gags, but also set up arcs and pay them off over the course of the film.
I mean, there's a bit of an arc with Wayne and his like where he is with his company that happens, and there's an arc between him and his son.
That's not a character arc though. That's not someone learning something. That's like we can't really talk about that until spoilers, but I wouldn't count that as an arc. I would, they pull a little swerve on us with a plot.
Well, maybe
beat.
you wouldn't, but I think it's an arc.
Okay, we can argue about what defines as an arc when we get to spoilers, but I don't think this movie really has any real arcs, and it feels missing, and is why the movie feels more like just hollow slapstick compared to the first movie, where it did have that. The first movie was a complete package. I was kind of shocked how good that first movie was when we did it last year. I was not expecting it to hold up the way it did. This, by comparison, this is much more typical, entertaining at times. I'm not saying it's devoid of any value. I'm not saying it's devoid of any fun moments, but it's not a complete package of a movie by any stretch of the imagination.
I think for the family film that it is, I think it's good enough.
I've got to say, I was not expecting that debate about this movie. About Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Maybe this movie is deeper than you realize.
Nah, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it.
Maybe you are incapable of analyzing movies to my degree. I have a very particular set of skills.
What, to analyze middling Disney sequels from the 90s?
Yep.
Okay.
Whenever we watch those, though we haven't watched one yet, but I would be good at that.
Well, this is the Disney sequel from the 90s.
It's not middling.
Okay. I see what you did there.
It's a 10.
There. It's not. Don't start. No, we're not. We're not down that path. Okay. You didn't even give Rocket Man a 10, and I don't think you like this as much as Rocket Man.
Can I retroactively give it a 10?
No.
I declare today my new score for Rocket Man is 10 out of 10. Perfect masterpiece movie.
No, that's not the score on record. Now, I've not actually got to that episode in terms of like getting the scores written down, but it'll be whatever you said on that episode that's going on the record sheet.
I also have a retroactive rating for Starship Troopers 3. You can see it on my letterbox. So whenever you get around to that.
That's a bonus episode we did. It was worse than middling.
I gave it another watch and I've changed my mind about it.
What? What sort of?
I talked about it already.
I can't.
Let's talk about this movie.
I'm just, what sort of unhinged weirdo rewatch the Starship Troopers 3?
I don't know. Someone who likes sci-fi movies?
Unhinged. You're unhinged, I tell you.
I bought it, so.
Oh, that's Or was this just a case where the rental and the purchase was like almost the same price? So you just said, "Oh, well, I'll just."
Probably.
Yeah.
It had Jolene Blaylock in it from Star Trek.
Okay. All right, we'll get into the spoilers then for Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. So you have been warned. The movie opens with another animated intro for the title sequence, and this is all jokes about a dad trying to look after his big son, which I think most notably ends with the dad putting on a suit of like armor to try and like deal with his son because he keeps getting like slammed against walls and knocked over and grabbed and picked up. It doesn't work though. Still a slapstick punchline.
Still reminded me of the first movie and its animated opening and going, oh yeah, it would have been nice if we had gotten like an animated movie or like an animated series or something.
Sure.
Because these work really well.
There was a live action TV show.
Mm-hmm. But the animation is the one that I liked.
That's fair. That's fair. I watched a lot of that live action TV show when I was a kid, when I had the Disney Channel.
I have not seen a single frame.
I just remember thinking the mum was hot, and I was like 10, so it was definitely an early that mum's hot like crush. Like it was early days for that type of crush. But I think I was.
Did she have some tickle bitties?
I think she might have done. It's been a while, but I think Missy Selinsky in the show was. I mean, not that Missy Selinsky in the movies like unattractive. She's a perfectly fine woman, but Missy Selinsky in the TV show was making my 10-year-old brain just sparkle with excitement of the possibilities of what the female form had to offer.
Gross.
Yeah, but as it is gross as like Nick going to his job at like the water park in this, and there being like a slow motion shot of teenage Kerry Russell in a bikini as like music plays. I don't know. I felt a bit weird about it. I think the older I get, the weirder I feel when as a teenager, like doing a scene like that, where I'm like, this feels a bit weird. Why are we doing the slow motion bikini shot?
Yeah, I'm conflicted about it because I understand why it's there. Because when you're a teenage boy and you like you wouldn't not like sexualize a girl that you have a crush on when you stare at her.
Yeah,
you know, like
age.
Yeah. So it makes sense why it's in movies, but I understand where the director's probably like, I don't know, like put her in a really bright pink bikini. Maybe it's a bit too much.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know.
It didn't
Yeah,
like focus on any of her, growing lady
no,
bits,
no.
which is
It's the
good.
sort of thought that occurs to me when I see moments like this. It's like it's one thing when it's like an actress who's clearly like 20 just pretending to be like 17, but it's another
Yeah.
thing when these teenagers actually do feel like teenagers in this. So it's like you know. But anyway, so the movie kicks off with the Wayne house, the Solinsky house. He's Wayne Solinsky, which is why I said that. He's not Batman. But he's got a lot of gadgets. He's got quarks running and getting the
Kind of like Bruce
mail.
Wayne. Maybe we are at Wayne Manor. It's just suburban Wayne Manor.
Do you know, so they did this whole thing with like the mum saying, "Okay, I'm going to take uh, Amy to college. I want to get her settled in at the dorms, right? And she's going to fly in a plane with her daughter, and then come back after she's settled in. And if it all felt a little bit weird because Amy keeps saying, "There's no point, mum. Just let me go alone. It's whatever, right? You know, it's not going to be anything for you to do." And sure enough, the mum ends up coming back like as quickly as humanly possible from this little like trip with her daughter. And all I could think was, is they just really, really wanted to repeat that beat where she comes home and Wayne's done something so outrageously like nut job with his kids, and he has to tell her. They wanted that
Yes.
moment again, so we just had to write a reason for her to be gone for like a day or two, so that we could have her returning and getting the shock of because and it's a good moment. It plays on the fact that you've seen the first movie where he's like, "Oh, yeah, there's something I need to tell you." He's like, "Oh, it can't be that bad, Wayne. I mean, it's like you've done something to the kids again." And he's like, and then she faints again when she finds out, which,
Yeah, because I think in the first movie she was just like at work or something and
yeah, it was
then
just
was
that
coming home
morning.
from work.
Yeah.
This was very much like, oh, we think mom's going to be gone for a few days, but in fact, she comes home early. So we get to experience that moment, but I didn't think right away like, oh, they want her out so that she can come back and have that. I was thinking like at first, oh, they have to figure this out before mom gets back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wasn't thinking that until the scene happened. Then I went, "Oh, this is happening so quick. It feels like they just wanted her gone for a little bit so they could do this like discovery scene."
Yeah. I mean, I have friends who have kids who went to college in the last, few years, and I have been like, they have been like really involved in the whole process of them going to college, way more than my parents were. So like, it's surprising, but I guess that's what happens when you actually like
Love your kids.
love your kids. I love my parents. They're very cold people, but I do love them.
Yeah. It's funny because like I was saying how I thought they were setting up like an arc for like Nick and his little brother, because they do a lot of things at the start where like Nick walks in and catches Adam with his guitar, and Adam does do a funny little noise where he's like, "Uh oh," sort of like, and it's like, "Oh, that's kind of cute and funny."
Yeah.
And all these scenes kind of end with Nick chasing after him like he's going to strangle him, and like Adam always runs to one of the parents and they step in and stop him from doing it. But I was like, "Oh, this is setting up an arc." And the other thing that I thought was setting up more of an arc that it didn't really kind of do anything with was Wayne trying to like bond with Nick. He's like, "No, we should have some, father son, guys only time. Let's go to a movie. Let's do this and that." Um, I think it was setting me up to think that they were going to like solve more problems together once all the crisis started happening. But once everything went down and got crazy, they kind of split up and they were separate then for like the rest of the movie. So it never really paid off that either.
Nick has to be the one this time to have the teenage love.
Yes.
Like which did happen in the first movie, so it's a little bit of that. But we still got a point where he was almost eaten.
We did, yes. We also get a small moment where they're eating very large bits of food because they're in Adam's pocket.
Okay, that seems so dangerous though, because we see anything that was hit with the beam expands. So like if everything keeps growing and you've eaten some of it, you can explode.
That's a really good point. Is the stuff in his pocket growing with him? The clothes are, so that would suggest that everything.
Yeah, he had like a giant like M&M or something,
Yeah.
some chocolate covered candy.
Don't get me
covered
wrong.
chocolate.
The thought of an M&M the size of a birthday cake where you could scoop out the chocolate in it did look quite good. I was like, oh, I could eat that. Like I could sit with a spoon and get into that.
Sure.
That sounds great. The question I was having...
It always sounds great until you get... There is a threshold you'll cross and be like, that's just too much chocolate.
Absolutely. But he hands a raisin to Kerry Russell and like he's like, hey, have that. Because she's on a diet. She doesn't want to eat the chocolate.
Well, she probably has a crush on Nick, so she has to say things like that too.
But all I was thinking was like, okay, from a nutrition standpoint, right? If you enlarge food like this and you eat a little bit of it that's like a good size for you, it's like a meal sized amount of food, but it's from an enlarged thing that was grown. When it's bulked up like this, does the nutritional value also multiply with the size, or is it still technically only the calories of the little like snippet of it you ate?
Oh my god, that'd be incredible. It'd be like 0-calorie chocolate. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, kind of, but I'm wondering if you wouldn't feel full because technically it's like there's not enough nutrition in it either. Like you're not getting enough of anything from like a lot of it you're eating.
Well, the mass alone would have to be quite high because like even things that are not like high in calories but are high in like lettuce. Lettuce is really low calorie, but if you eat a head of lettuce, you'll be full.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it'd probably be more like that. So maybe you would. I don't know.
I've never tried to eat a full head of lettuce, so I can't say I've had that.
Well, I've
problem.
made like salads and stuff, and I only used like half the head of lettuce, you know, because.
Yeah. No, it's a good filler, but I think it got me thinking about the nutritional elements of this. Of like, if you. I mean, you immediately went to the good side of it. Is like if you ate like the bad stuff, are you basically getting nothing like no fat or sugar because it's
okay,
like nothing.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But what about the opposite though? When you want to have like just nutrition to survive, are you getting enough like of fiber and protein and all these other things from anything that you could eat if it's been enlarged like that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I imagine if somebody did shoot down the giant baby and they're like, "This will feed the world." That people would probably have like just slabs of baby meat.
I mean, would it be good for the environment if instead of all the cattle we currently have, if we just like made like a couple of giant cows a year and just
well, I mean, if you were going to do that, which I am 100% ethically against.
Yes.
But if you were to do that, you would have to like feed them. It would probably be more ethical to make them small and have them feed on like one blade of grass a year while they
but then enlarge them.
And then you enlarge it
to a
larger size.
I like it.
But this sounds incredibly unethical.
Yeah. That's the plan. We do a lot of tiny cows that barely need anything to like eat. So they're not even pumping out that much carbon dioxide either. The farting problem almost goes away. Right?
And would it be the same amount of methane?
And then you enlarge them and then immediately kill them for their meat.
Oh.
I'm sorry. This is the most anti-vegan conversation we've ever had on this show. I apologize, but my mind's getting going here with the savings.
Still, yes, it still would be wrong to kill a sentient animal that doesn't want to die.
Yes, even if he's 200 feet taller than he should be.
Yes, well, if it's against his will, you know, so like it's not like the cows volunteer for it or something, you know.
Yeah, if we got a suicidal cow, that would be okay, but they don't.
Or if there was a cow that was like, I don't know, that just naturally grew to 200 feet high, then that wouldn't be okay. Or like, or that maybe would be okay because, you know, it just naturally became 200 feet tall and it's now crushing cities and that's killing a lot of people and other animals too. So yeah, you would probably have to take it down.
Oh yeah, at a certain point it's a safety issue for like the kaiju potential, not because it's just about processing for meat. But if you already had to kill it, you might as well use the meat for something.
I suppose.
It's just,
None
like
for me.
Like in Pacific Rim, they use all the meat of the kaiju that they shoot down as delicacy, because why not? It's there. Might as well use it.
Might as well.
The resource, right?
Mm-hmm. Probably tastes like chicken.
That's went off on a weird tangent. But it's a light Disney movie. That's the thing with these types of movies, is that like there's not as much to like analyze, and like, you know, we're not discussing themes in the same way that we would with normal. So we end up going on these weird
It's more like,
tangents.
if you eat that M&M, you could explode from a giant M&M growing inside you.
Well, yeah. So sometimes the effects, some of them hold up relatively well. Obviously when they've got the kid and it's like being screened, like, you know, either green screen or rear screen projection, whatever it is, in front of the actors. But there are sometimes when he's like holding his brother, and then there's like just a quick moment where you can see in the shot of the baby actually holding something that's like a toy.
Yeah, the toy car was a giveaway.
Yeah, the toy car, when it's maybe a regular car, but he's picked it up, and yeah, there's stuff like that that comes out of it. But
I still think it's really cool that they did it all with like an actual 2-year-old, though.
Oh, sure.
Instead of like a cartoon.
Today it would be CG. You know, a lot of them would be CG if they did it today.
Yeah, it's ethically probably better because like kids can't consent to that kind of stuff, but like we're not quite there yet with special effects. So like I definitely appreciate the dogs and animals that are being used are more CG, and they're getting better at it. So hopefully it's just the standard eventually.
You know, like I get that if you make a baby cry, well, not acting, you've just made a baby cry. But
yeah, that scene, especially in the movie, it's just like, what did they do to get him? Because he goes, ow. You know?
But I will say, I don't like, obviously there's lines you can't cross, but I think for the most part, when someone grows up and they look back at a movie like this, A, they won't remember it, and two, they'll probably, hey, it's cool that I was in a movie. I don't really care that you made me cry like once when I was a toddler.
Yeah, but then they could end up like the Olsen twins.
I mean, they could. That's obviously, but I feel like that's more because those parents keep pushing for them to be actors and take more roles and, you know, stuff like that. These twins, I don't think, have been on to be actors. I don't think, given the fact that they don't have photos other than this movie on IMDb.
Probably not. I didn't check, but yeah, you're probably right.
So my guess is that this was just a thing.
But seriously, when the kid says "owie" and then starts crying, so it's a little bit like, how'd you get that to happen? Whereas like it's super easy to make a baby cry. All you have to do is take the baby away from its mother and it'll start crying. Like, it's really easy.
Stapler.
Yeah, I heard you.
I was making sure the audience heard me. The director's just running up and stapling a kid's hand just before the take. All right, cry, you little shit. Action.
I mean, maybe it was maybe it was something they already had because they were constantly filming this kid, and maybe he accidentally hurt himself and started crying anyway.
Oh, you think they're following him around like a documentary crew, waiting for him to stub his toe so he'll go.
I'm sure there's some guidance. I don't know, but I imagine 2-year-olds would cry easily.
Prop master just hands him a pair of scissors and go run around with those for a minute. See what happens.
Look at this bee. Isn't this bee nice and friendly looking?
Oh dear. Okay, so the movie, you know, when they're trying to enlarge things with his ray and it's not working, and he thinks he's got a solution, but John Shea, Lex Luthor, is not listening to him, so he wants to sneak in. After the wife and Amy have went away to college, he takes his 2 sons with him to do this test. And of course, he tries to use the baby's like bunny rabbit like stuffed, you know, bear thing. And unsurprisingly, Adam the kid, who's known to like go after things that he wants, goes towards it when no one's looking and gets hit by the ray. You know, like, I will say this: after 2 movies, I do think that there's some negligent parenting happening here, right? I think there's a strong case to... It's a bit different maybe in the first movie because they're older and they go up to his lab that they're not supposed to be in and he's not there. But this is him actively doing a test. He's brought his children here and he wasn't looking when his youngest, crawled in and got hit by this thing, there is a case for social services to be involved with this one.
Yeah, he's really not OSHA compliant with like any of his instruments. And as someone who's also been shrunk many times by Dr. Wayne Szalinski at Disneyland in the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience attraction, that was a great show. It's like a 3D show that played at Disneyland. Maybe Disney World too. I don't know. Never been there. But yes, I can say that he does not learn his lesson when it comes to that.
I wouldn't think so. Which sets things. And there's a lot of like on the nose dialogue at the start of the movie, like with the guards like saying, "Oh, your baby, that baby's getting bigger. Like he's already looking like he's getting big."
Yeah, it's cute.
There's a moment where like the two neighbors are like taking photos of their like electrified mailbox because they want to report them to the housing association, and like one of them's like, maybe this, maybe it's just a mailbox, and then the other one's like, Kathy, small things have got a way of becoming big things. It's like, okay, very good movie. You're really hitting me over the head with the foreshadowing here.
I thought it was cute.
So Wayne, before the crisis becomes apparent that the kid's starting to get enlarged, and it's a fun moment when they first realize, the dog runs out of the kitchen and they're like, why is the dog running away? And they both go in. And
I also like the moment where he tries to take him out of the car seat, and he's clearly grown at least a little bit since he was put in the car seat, and he can't lift him out, so he has to remove the whole car seat.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're growing fast.
Yeah, does he have a line like, we're going to have dinner, maybe a light dinner for you today?
Maybe some soup.
But they both run and hide behind the couch, and then like in comes this 8-foot tall version of the toddler. But before that happens, when Wayne thought he was going to spend the day with his son, he's like, let's get a babysitter, and like we can go hang out, go to the movies, maybe get some food after, and the baby can stay home with.
He wants to have a chance to bond with his son, who is clearly into girls.
Yes, he wants to talk about the birds and the bees. I feel like Nick's already at an age where he's got an idea about what the birds and the bees are.
Yeah, but you can kind of tell that Wayne, that the mom is kind of pushing him to do it. Like, come on, you're the dad. You got to do this. You're cool. Look, you got me. And so I think she's kind of told him that like he could do this. He's good enough. He's dad enough, and it's something he's supposed to do. Although
he squashes any notions that this was true when Nick asks him in the van, were you ever popular in high school? He's like, yeah, sure I was. I was captain of the debate team or something 2 years in a row.
I think it was the astronomy club.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, that would be a no, Nick. That would be a no.
Yeah. And like his mom and stuff is like, oh, like you're great. You're handsome. You're going to be just like your father. And then he looks at his dad. He's got the weird helmet thing on. So
maybe that's why he's getting into guitar. He's like, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be a rock musician.
Oh, definitely. Like, no guy picks up a guitar and says, I'm not using this to pick up chicks.
Yes, he's trying to balance out the weirdness of his family with music, and credit to him. He's trying his best. But it turns out the babysitter that Wayne calls is the girl that Nick's got a crush on. But because he made that arrangement, and then, oh shit, the baby's big, we have to try and sneak back into the lab. Oh no, we can't because they've locked me out because they think I'm up to stuff. This babysitter comes sauntering over later on when Nick's there with Adam alone while the parents are off trying to get his original shrink ray, and that's how she gets involved. And Nick's reaction to her storming in and seeing the giant baby is to tie her to a chair and gag her like a serial killer.
I mean, maybe he watches a lot of movies. Doesn't have a lot of ideas.
Are you going to defend this incel behavior? Really? Is that what you're going to do right now?
I think it's fine for the movie, for the kids' movie.
I'm joking. I appreciate it's a lot more lighthearted. You don't meant to take it too seriously. I do think she's like oddly kind of cool with it, but obviously she's screaming the first time he takes the gag out, but by the time like the baby like escapes and he comes over to untie her, she's just on board with trying to help finding him, like it's like all he says is, oh, we'll pay you overtime as a babysitter for helping me, and she's like, yeah man, which by the way,
Women love money.
$2.50 an hour. That feels quite low. Even by 1992 standards, that feels a bit on the low side.
For babysitter, I don't know. Whenever I babysat, I only got paid in like quarters.
Do you know what's so weird?
You're always like doing it for a friend or for like, I don't know.
Okay, frankly, we tangented way off somewhere. So we're talking about the babysitter stuff. And then we obviously have to talk about, we kind of brought up the mum coming home and like finding out that happened before that. But Wayne's plan's basically, okay, we can't get to the big ray in the lab, but my original one from the last movie is in a box somewhere in their warehouse, so we're going to go steal that.
It's easier to break into than a lab, probably.
Well, his clearance security card still worked. That was lucky, because that would have really put a damper on their efforts.
Well, I mean, there seems to be some confusion as to who really is in charge of the hiring and firing process.
Yeah, John Shea obviously fires him, or gets his clearance revoked and kicks him out and all that, but he keeps saying... Well, actually, there's a bit of a coup at this company, because so not only is that going on, but John Shea is talking to these other executives, and they're saying, hey, the old man, like, I think the board's going to vote him out, so we're thinking you might be the new CEO, kind of like thing. But then later on, when everyone becomes aware that the baby's big, and he's been storming through the streets as like a 15... 20-foot tall baby. He's not kaiju size, but he's more like just like small building sized at this point.
You can't hide him anymore.
Yeah. When that happens and everyone sort of knows, and John Sheehan knows, and he calls in the big man, and in comes Lloyd Bridges, and he does the whole thing. He's like, oh, this Wayne idiot, he did all this, and we should get people involved, and blah blah blah. We get the military involved. Let's take this kid down. And the old man's like, you're a shithead. You're fired. I'm way more sympathetic with this nice scientist man and his wife. I'm going to help them get their kid back safely.
Maybe I shouldn't have Bob Ebel working for my company.
Yeah, I want a better, more, welcoming and, ethical company than what this guy's trying to do. This guy's...
He doesn't even seem to be like money motivated like a lot of other villains. He's more just like, I just want credit for everything.
Yeah.
Or I want to get this done, and Zelensky's slowing us down.
I mean, maybe like you can sort of read between the lines and just assume that all leads to more money, and that's why he wants all that. But yeah, they never like bring it up. They never talk about him, wanting to buy a yacht or like anything like that.
Although he does his character reminds me of Todd, the neighbor from Christmas Vacation, that's married to Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Married to
Elaine, he kind of has that
look
and that attitude, They're really
sure
yuppie.
Although he had like slick back, like long hair, right, in that movie.
Yeah.
The guy I'm picturing.
There's a bit of a slick back going on with this guy.
Yeah. He like I like John Shea a lot. I think he's really good at playing this type of role, and he serves his role here perfectly well. What is kind of weird though is because he's like fired like halfway through the movie. He's kind of this weird non-threat for the rest of it. Obviously, he does get involved again, where he like with the other executives that want him to be in charge. They get some private military group to like help him with a helicopter, and he takes this big trank gun to try and shoot down the baby. And that's like a little threat later on, but it never really feels like he's like. I think up until that point where he's fired, he feels that they're setting him up to be this constant like, oh, they're going to be chasing him to get to the baby. They're going to be like, he's going to be this constant thorn in their sides. And he kind of just like disappears. He comes back in to be one threat at one moment, and that's kind of it,
Well, I think the line from the other military guy, the pilot, who's like, at first he's like, yeah, whatever we got to do to get to, take this baby down. And then he's like, oh, you're going to shoot him with a gun? Like, I don't know, man. I got kids. Like, that doesn't seem like a good idea. That seems wrong. So there's a little bit of that. Like the guy doesn't see the human aspect that it is a baby. He just sees it as like something he's gonna save the city, by taking out the baby. But if you tranquilize the baby, like he's gonna fall and like crush things and buildings and people.
Which when this is pointed out to John Shea, he just kind of shrugs and goes, let's hope not. Like, no precautions. Let's just hope he doesn't.
Also, he has no idea like what that effect is going to have on the kid anyway. Like if he shoots him.
Yeah, like how do you know what the dosage? I mean, I guess you just multiply what would take out an actual toddler, but like How do you know if this is a safe amount? What if you're overcompensating and you just kill him because you've pumped him full of this like elephant?
Yeah,
like,
what
tranquilizer?
exactly? So maybe you're right in the beginning of the conversation where you said like,
Probably.
what if it is like the same amount of blood cells, but now you've shot him full of tranquilizer meant for like 16 dozen elephants because he's a giant kaiju, and you just instantly kill him.
I guess that's the
thing.
thing.
Because he overdoses.
Like when they get enlarged, see, it was easier when they were shrunk because you could have this argument and say it's the same amount of atoms that are just being compressed, so it's still
Mhm.
like all the same amount of actual like stuff, matter that their body's made up of. But when you're enlarging, you're saying, well, is it the same amount of matter that's been stretched out? Because in theory, that should have an effect on like his density and like.
Well, when they're small, also, like, because if it's the same amount, then they should, in theory, weigh the same, even though they're tiny.
Oh, true, yeah, which they obviously don't do in the first. So clearly, this Ray, just to go with the logic of the physics of everything that's going on between both the first and the second movie, it must be literally like removing the amount of matter and then adding the amount of matter when they're being enlarged to just justify why everything's still functioning exactly the same.
I don't know. We should get some scientists on this.
Oh yeah, because that's what a genuine.
I need an expert to talk to talk about this on YouTube. I need their breakdown. GQ, get on it.
That's left to people that aren't me. I couldn't bring myself.
Particle physicist breaks down Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
I think you have to have a particle physicist and also maybe like a biologist. You have to like have a mix of scientists, break it down. Because there's that series on YouTube which is VFX artists react to like CGI in movies. They need to do that with like you've got a physicist, a chemist, and a biologist, and like they react to science in movies.
I love those. My favorite are the historians. I love the historians reacting to historical movies, and you're just like, this is where I get my history from. So like, let's see how good it is.
There's a lawyer one as well, where the lawyer will watch like law scenes and then be like, okay, this is why this is all nonsense. Like this never works that way.
I know one of them did Measure of a Man.
Yeah. At least in that case, though, it's the future and Star Trek has new laws, so you're like, well, you can't really critique this because things have changed. This is the Federation, okay?
Yeah, they definitely still critique it too much for my liking.
Filth. How dare they critique Star Trek?
Agreed.
Filth. So, I mean, I think for me, the movie, like, it kind of, in a way, picks up once we get to kaiju size, because then it's like that last 25 minutes, whatever it is.
You see him stopping on the road to the glowing lights of the strip of Las Vegas. That's a good scene.
And he's getting closer. And I think what I liked about this is that it became a series of them, like, okay, what can we try and do to deal with this? And even though they've got the rain, it's like, this will probably work, but because he's so big, he has to be still for X number of seconds, and that's quite tough with a 2-year-old. So they go through all these different ideas that have all been set up, to be fair. Like, credit where credit's due. They do set up all these different ideas. One is like, okay, we'll use his giant bunny, and there's that funny shot of the helicopters bringing in the giant bunny rabbit.
Bringing the bunny.
Yeah. And
Rick Moranis standing on top of it with a megaphone.
And a helmet. Safety first, kids.
Safety first.
And of course, during all this time, like when he became kaiju sized, he actually picked up his brother and the babysitter and put them in his pocket. So there's a lot of this movie where they're just kind of in his pocket, just sort of commenting on events and maybe being in peril a little bit here or there.
Yeah, it is a bit funny because they were initially just in his pocket, right? And then like the kid just picked them up and put them in his pocket, and they escape and get into this car, which the kid thinks is a toy car and picks up and puts right back in the same pocket.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bits here where he gets to the Hard Rock Cafe and picks up the big neon guitar and tries to play it. He tries to talk to the cowboy that's the big neon sign. All those like bits you could do in Vegas. I can't remember what the celebrity was because I'd never heard of the guy, but there's this couple.
Wayne Newton.
Yeah, there you go, Wayne Newton. That was it. This couple walk out of a casino and they're like, "Why are the police cordoning off all the streets? Is Wayne Newton back in Vegas?" Like, nah, it must be someone bigger. They've never done that for Wayne Newton. It's like, honey, there's no one bigger than Wayne Newton. And then walks in the kaiju baby.
Yeah. I only know Wayne Newton because of Vegas Vacation.
Oh,
Wayne
I've not seen
Newton
that one.
is a big character in that one.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Which came after this movie, I think, right?
He must have been
maybe.
big at the time. I mean, I went to the first time I went to Vegas, I was a kid and I had to stay in the hotel anyway. So I don't remember Wayne Newton being a thing. Like there was he seemed like a lesser Tom Jones, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Everybody was talking about Siegfried and Roy at the time. They were the big Vegas act.
Do Americans typically know who Tom Jones is? Is that a name in New York? Or New York? America is what I'm trying to say. I just keep naming American places like Vegas, New York, San Francisco.
You're just an alien who's learned everything from movies. America, New York, right?
Oh, wild.
Yeah, I think so. It's not unusual, right? That's
it's not
Tom
unusual
Jones.
for an American to have heard of Tom Cruise. Is that what you're trying to say? Tom Jones. Damn it! Why am I saying everything wrong today?
I don't know. You got whatever I had.
That was a good joke, right? You saying it's not unusual, and I said, yeah, it's not unusual for an American to have heard of Tom Jones. That's a good joke. I flubbed it.
Oh, I thought my part was the joke. That's okay.
No, yours was fine, but I thought my joke was good. But ultimately, I did flub it. But yes, it's not unusual to be loved by anyone. Yes, that's Tom Jones. Also, he did watch New Pussycat, or at least he did a version of it. I don't know if it's originally his, but.
Are you saying this because he's big in the UK?
Yes.
Oh.
Tom Jones is very big in the UK.
Okay.
Isn't he Welsh?
I have no idea. I thought he was American.
Well, fact checking it, at time it is. Tom Jones, baby. Where's he from?
He sings like an American.
Lots of British people sound like an American because they don't want to sound regional. Okay, hold on. Where the hell is this place? It is Wales. I should have known it was Wales because I couldn't pronounce it.
It's just a bunch of consonants.
Nah, to be fair, this one's pronounced, so I just never heard of it. He's from Treforest, which is in Wales. I knew he was Welsh.
Okay.
When you said like, is he big? Like, why is he big in the UK? I'm like, yeah, he's from the UK. What are you talking about?
I genuinely did not know that.
Yeah, he's
I've only heard him sing, and he sings like an American.
He's from the funny land of Wales. No offense to the Welsh, but it's a funny land.
Sounds like you're being a little bit.
Well, we've learned something today, haven't we?
That these movies make a tangent way too much.
We've learned that Tom Jones, I almost said Cruise again, is from Wales. Tom
Got
Cruise.
that Mission Impossible on the brain, huh?
Tom Cruise is definitely not from Wales. Although it would be funny to think of that entire franchise with a Welsh accent in the lead role.
He's part of the American Special Forces. And
yes.
Spy.
Not that that's like that stopped them putting Arnold or like Dolph Lundgren in roles like that.
No one would ever suspect.
We'll just pretend that that's an accent that sounds right and just go with it.
We all know what he sounds like because of the Sergeant Candy deleted scene from Terminator 3. That's actually Arnold's real voice. Hi.
Oh, sure.
I'm Sergeant Candy.
Oh, there's a whole... Actually, we forgot to mention there's like a running gag for a little bit, like earlier on in the movie, where John Shea has got some lab technicians try to figure out what Wayne did when he was there, and they've got like a blurry photo of whatever was like beamed with the ray, and it's like, because it's like the bear that the kid was holding right in front of him, it looks like it's something with 3 eyes. And we come back to them a few times where they're kind of like, oh, I think it's this. Oh, we've done like an analysis and there's like a metal wireframe there, but there's also flesh there. And they're like basically debating what it could be. And then John...
Do you make a 3-eyed bionic monster?
And John Shea walks in, hits a couple of buttons and goes, it's a baby holding a stuffed animal. And just walks away.
It's funny.
It's like, I wasn't really enjoying the build up to it, but when the punchline came of him just figuring it out in like 2 seconds and walking away and saying get back to work, I actually thought that was a lot funny.
You guys forgot to hit the enhance button.
Yes.
It looked like they had AI trying to figure it out. It's just like like the three eyes like didn't even look like the actual picture.
I know. It's even a little bit funnier when you think about the fact that John Shea keeps saying to Wayne that, no, you don't have to get involved. We've got the best scientific minds in the country working on this. And I'm like, this is the best scientific minds? Is these two idiots?
Well, I can see that. Like, look, I'm not saying my dad is like a scientific genius and the best of the best, but I did go to him. Like, he is like, a bit of a scientist. And I did go to him when I was young, and I was like, can you help me with my algebra? And he kept trying to use calculus to teach me. He's like, well, in calculus, because it's the last thing that he learned. So, maybe it's something similar. Maybe it's just like it has to be something way more complex when it's actually something a lot easier.
Yeah. I don't think I ever did calculus. If we did do calculus, it was never called that because they never used that word. So
I probably didn't take it then.
No, probably not. I mean, even algebra though, like we definitely did algebra, but I don't think the word algebra ever really got uttered. Like, it was just in math class and we did it, but it was never.
I mean, usually it's either algebra, trigonometry, or geometry. Those are like the three ones that you do before calculus.
Algebra and trigonometry we definitely did a lot of. I remember that. We're tangenting again, so I'm going to stop us right now. So
let's finish this movie already.
Yeah, so the big conclusion. So they also try a plan where they get Ron Canada, who's like with the U.S. Marshals.
Yeah,
he's a nice
Ron Canada.
He's a nice enough man too, and he is going to drive an ice cream truck with a super amplified the music of the truck to attract the kid, and they're hoping that he'll I'm not sure what their plan is to make him stay still when they get him away, but they're trying to.
I think they're trying to lure him out of the city, at least, right? Because it's the lights of Vegas that obviously the kid's attracted to, but it's also the danger. If he gets all that electromagnetic whatever, he'll grow again.
We never even said this, but yes, electricity is what keeps making him grow. So the first time it's a microwave, the second time it's a TV, then it's like power lines, and then the worry is that all. Honestly, though, I feel like they were playing fast and loose with how close he has to be.
It's very inconsistent.
Yeah, because the first few times it feels like he's only just kind of close, whereas at the end it's like he is way closer to these neon lights than he was to any of these other things, especially relative to how big he is. So he should be like 200 foot tall. Honestly though, I almost wish they verbalize one of the biggest threats to this. It's not just that he could start stepping on people and things, it's that he could literally grow so tall that his head it might stick out the top of the atmosphere if he keeps growing.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
the
die.
baby will just suffocate to death. Or freeze to death, get frostbite on them.
And then he'll fall down, probably kill a lot of people, and then it'll be like a celestial body, just it takes up a quarter of a country, just lying there.
Change the mass of the actual planet.
Yeah.
While it decomposes. But feeds the world.
Yeah, maybe they could do a few things to help the Earth out here. I mean, when he's that size, give him a big scoop and have him just throw some water into space. Just to lower the sea level a little bit. He's big enough for it.
Lower the sea level, or give him the nukes and say it's darts. Just throw him at the sun.
I think yours sounds a bit more dangerous than mine. Just a bit.
He could be baby Superman.
What worst case scenario if he throws the water?
He'll just say owie, and then
Yeah, but the worst case scenario with the water is that he throws it at a bad angle and it just kind of rains really bad somewhere when it all falls in some like a city. With a nuke, if he flubs it,
it'd be more like a tidal wave than it would be rain, probably.
I mean, yeah, probably, but don't deconstruct my good joke. Not having it. Anyway, the solution to the whole thing is that the only way to get him to stay still is to have his mother, but obviously his mother is tiny relative, so it doesn't work. So she just looks at Wayne and says, "Use your ray on me. Make me big." And would you believe it? Her being big solves the problem, and she holds her son. They beam them back down to size. Simple as that. She does though. She actually stops. John Shea tries to trank the kid in the helicopter. The first one, the pilot actually nudges the the helicopter intentionally, so he misses. The second one, he hits the guitar, and then just as he's about to shoot it the third time, that's when Kaiju Mummy like grabs the helicopter and is like, she says back off, and I'm like, if in the R-rated cut, it would be an F-bomb.
No, you may not shoot my child, my baby.
Probably my favorite running gag in the movie actually is that when she does find out what Wayne's done and she faints, as she's waking up, she's sort of just like dreaming and going like, I'm going to kill Wayne. I'm going to kill, and Wayne's like, you're not going to kill Wayne. Please don't kill Wayne. You're not going to kill Wayne. And sure enough, when she wakes up and is reminded what's happened because she's holding the giant bunny, she just starts strangling him. So when Nick walks back in the room, she's literally on top of Wayne, just strangling him. And then it kind of
nice couple.
It pays off at the end because she punches out John Shea for trying to shoot her kid, because he's like, it was just a tranquilizer, it wouldn't have hurt him. I said, oh, just a tranquilizer, and then punches him. I will say it's weird to compare it to this, but this of all things made me think of Die Hard, because at the end of Die Hard, Holly punches the reporter dude who's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me that vibe. It gave like this. He's not expecting it because it's the wife, and she just knocks him out. That's what it made me think of.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the moment. Actually, I thought it was a good payoff. Good. It was a good laugh, also, and frankly, he deserves it for more than one reason. So,
he's been racking up like bad karma all movie.
Smug points.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the teenagers, the whole bit where they're in the car and like they're almost going to die. Then the baby sits the car on like, a neon sign, and they fall out. They're almost going to fall to their death. The car falls. The kid catches it and puts it in his pocket, and it's a whole thing.
It's a good PSA about seatbelts too, because for some reason Carrie Russell wasn't wearing her seatbelt and almost fell out.
Yeah, given that
fell to her death.
Given the car is like not on a road, especially, it feels like a good time for the seatbelt. Maybe just a wild. Yeah. Wild idea on my part, but
maybe she thought we should escape because we're not getting out of this car via baby.
And the little sort of joke ending with them is that Wayne realizes that because they've shrunk down the kid, that everything on him also shrunk down. Meaning, so they have that fun moment at the end where he's like, "No one move," because he thinks the kids might be on the ground, because the baby's pocket's got a hole in it. It's all okay though. They basically play it off as a little joke ending where him and Kerry Russell are getting close. He's putting his arm around her. It's getting romantic, and he sees his dad looking through the magnifying glass behind him, and he's like, "No, show away. Give me a minute. Like, go away." Like,
yeah.
And Wayne's like, "Okay, we'll give them a few minutes. They can have their."
It's cute. It's like a full circle thing of like he wanted to teach his son about the birds and the bees, so this is a moment where he accepts my son has this.
I do think the movie sets up a lot of things, or it felt like it was setting up a lot of possible things that it didn't really pay off as much as I thought they would. And there's probably more ideas you could have with even just like the 7-foot baby running around. Never mind, like like the medium-sized one, like it's above that. Like we sort of glossed over this scene. Like one of the nosy neighbors is doing like a magic show for like her kid's birthday party, and the kids all think it's shit. But then giant baby comes like coming over the
He's probably
wall.
like 15 feet at this
something like that,
point.
yeah. 15, maybe 20, something in that range. And he comes over the wall, and they all go, "Oh, there's the bunny," because he's holding the bunny in his hand. And of course, she turns around and screams and falls in the pool, and it's all hijinks.
So she holds birthday parties at her place for kids, where she does magic.
I assumed that one of them was her kid, and that's why it was at her place. But I mean, this is conjecture here. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't get
Strange neighbors. I
did not get that she was a professional magician. This to me felt like an amateur who's doing it because it's her kid and she thinks she can do it, but she's shit at it. That's what it felt like to me.
All right. Because I'll buy that.
They were not impressed by any of her antics.
No,
not until the giant baby came over the wall and gave them some shock and awe.
There's the bunny.
Oh dear. Do you know what? We did all the Transformers movies recently. That's the crossover we needed here. We needed Optimus Prime to come in to try and talk the kid down when he's the same size as him.
Yeah, the kid's not old enough for Transformers yet. Like maybe he likes trucks.
Adam, you must stop this. You're going to kill thousands of people.
You lost it. You're gonna have to watch those movies again.
Oh, sorry. To be fair, it's harder to say a weird sentence that Optimus never said any version of, okay?
He's not saying I am Optimus Prime.
Yeah. This giant baby is too much for us to handle, Autobots.
Sam Witwicky.
Speaking of giant babies, I got the lols. I got funnies. Yeah. Yeah, this was a vehicle to tangent more than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
I don't know. Well, I think like you can kind of take that though as like how much is there to kind of really discuss with a movie like this? Arguably not a lot. So probably expect some tangents in the third movie as well. Although I suspect we may have more to say about the third movie just because they're back to being small and there's more like set piece moments, and there are set piece moments in this, but they are very different because it's more about trying to hide them, and then it's more like it's kind of like a kaiju, but it's not one who's trying to cause chaos. But it's the joke being is that a 2-year-old, if they were big, would probably do a lot of chaos because they do enough chaos as it is when they're small. I mean, when he's 7 foot tall, he like breaks the clock, you know, and the mum's like really upset about that.
Cuckoo clock.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, that's an antique. Damn it! That was our thing." I don't know. Like, maybe something else they could have played with is at the start of the movie they keep saying that Adam gets out of his playpen a lot because Wayne's built him this fancy like multi-tiered playpen that's got like plexiglass and it's kind of a honestly.
He's a little mini escape artist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very prison-like. Honestly, I get it. It's a toddler. You need to keep them
but
confined.
All playpens are.
Yeah, I know. But because this one's so high tech and like multi-site,
better get used to these bars, kid.
There you go. That's a tease for the future Back to the Future review.
It's cursed.
It's not cursed. We're definitely Tara. There's no way we're not doing Back to the Future. That 3.5 hour episode
Cursed.
is going to happen at some point, and you know it.
Ew. 2.5 hours. Can it be a 2-parter?
You're right. That's not enough time. 4 hours. Anyway, so no, I don't want to be too harsh on it because I think it's perfectly watchable for what it is. But I think it's missing a lot of the smarter writing and wit and genuine, like, you know, the fact that in the first movie, not only did we talk about all the little smart things it was doing, that was making it funnier, that was making it more charming, that was giving the characters all these little arcs that I think enhanced everything that was happening. But even just at the start, it was like, hey, Stuart Gordon had a hand in writing this, and you could feel that creativity. I feel like here, everything that happens is a bit more surface level, where I'm like, okay, what would happen if this situation arose? And they kind of like do, I don't know, more broad things to me than the first movie did. So I do think there's a step down in just the concepts and writing quality, if nothing else.
I still kind of wish that we got that Stuart Gordon, Brian Usna directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Of course.
Obviously, the one we have is great, but like having like a Herbert West Wayne Szalinski would be great. You could see the connection between the two.
Maybe they should just do it. I mean, I don't see any reason why the Wayne Szalinski character could be like much older. You could have Jeffrey Combs do it now.
Definitely.
Let's do it now in 2023.
Honey, I Shrunk the Grandkids.
Oh, do you know what? I hate how perfect that is for a nostalgia sequel to this.
Because you know it's coming.
Yeah, that is the perfect title for like if they can somehow talk Rick Moranis back.
Rick Moranis is probably into it, right?
I don't know. He kind of quit acting just to like be with his family and stuff. A long time ago.
They're grown up. They're grown up now. He's been doing voice acting the whole time.
True. Yeah. He did come back.
I feel like he has come back for something.
He came back for one thing. It was very notable they got him because he had not appeared on screen in decades.
Isn't it like a commercial for the Mint Mobile? For the Ryan Reynolds commercial?
I don't know, but it was a big deal because he was literally off the grid as far as like visual performances were. Because he just quit outright in the 90s, and that was it. Like he was gone.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was because his wife was real sick and then died, leaving him as a single dad, right?
Yeah. Well, I said to be with his family. That I think that tracks with that.
Yeah.
You know what they should do? Actually, they should do. Not that I like this show, but yeah, you've got Honey, How I Met Your Mother. They should do a crossover with that. Says, Honey, I Shrank Your Mother, No, that's crossover.
How I Shrank the Children. How I Shrank Your Mother. I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? It's not a good movie, but it's very.
It's a good movie.
It's watchable enough. It's silly enough. I think if you have nostalgia for it, you'll get through the 90 minutes in no time. There's definitely worse being made these days, but that doesn't make it good. And it's certainly a huge step down from the first movie, which is surprisingly solid in how much it's held up. So, with that said, Tara, would you like to rate Honey, I Blew Up the Kid out of 10?
I think it is a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I think the first one is great. I think this one is a new idea with the same characters, and I thought it was still super fun to watch. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay. That's not...
Oh, wait, it's a 10.
6.5. No, you've just said it now. I mean, it's a little high. It's not super outrageous, though. I was worried you were going to...
10?
As well. I wasn't that worried about that. Even though you keep threatening me with it. Honey, I gave this movie a 10. You can literally fit that title into any statement. It's great. I will say... I don't know. I think I will go with 5.5. I think it's just over that middle line in that it's watchable enough. It's got a couple of fun moments, but it's a much more shallow Hollywood experience than the first movie. It's more goofy. The comedy's a bit more broad, and I've said all the things that it doesn't have that the first movie did, and that's not about because I actually appreciate that it is different. I think it's actually one of its strengths. But sadly, I don't think they're as smart at exploring these ideas as the writers in the first movie were exploring those ideas. So I do think it's weaker. But it's not weaker because it's different. It's weaker because it's not as, good, basically. Which is a really asinine statement. But I think you know what I mean, given what I just said. Anyway, that is Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. And there was at least one bonus bit that'll be on Patreon that I cut out because it went on too long. So look forward to that. Why are you rolling your eyes at me?
Check out Peter's soda tier list.
It was your idea. You said, "What's your soda tier list?" You literally said that to me.
It was a joke.
You can't just put that idea. You can't incept me with that and then expect me to not do it.
I was joking about the tangent. Anywho.
Honey, I extended the tangent. Anyway.
Fine sequel. Looking forward to the next movie, which will be...
I thought you were going to wrap up again. I was like, you've done your rating already, Tara. Why are you outroing again?
I'm just trying to get this outro going.
Okay, yes. Next time, I believe we are looking at... I don't have it ready, if I'm honest, but it's a number 2.
It's another sequel.
It is definitely another sequel. I can tell you with all certainty.
It is a number 2. Number 2.
Is this your
stinker?
It's Future World, okay? We're doing Future World.
Oh, okay.
The sequel to Westworld.
We're doing that one. The poster I have.
Yeah, la la la. Yeah. Okay. So we're doing Future World. Look forward to that.
I don't know why it's pretentious that I have a poster from Future World.
It's so hipster that it's become snobby.
It's not hipster. I genuinely love sci-fi movies and like retrofuturism art. It's like my thing. It's not hipster. It's whatever, dude.
I'm just trying to rile Tyra up, which is working. Apparently.
It's an awesome poster. All right, you guys only see the bottom of it, but the top part, it's like it's kind of like obviously like the first one for Westworld, but like it's just a face.
Yeah, we literally just see a grey box with text on it at that bottom part of the poster.
Yeah, but the top part's cool.
Yeah. yeah, so we got Future World coming up. Of course, you can get access to bonus episodes every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV at any tier. You get access to the monthly bonus episode where you just hit 50 of those, so there's a whole back catalogue to explore. Also, at the $5 tier and up, you get access to the Ace Meltdown, which is just me and Tara catching up with whatever we've been watching or even playing. In some cases, talk about movies, sometimes video games, maybe even a TV show if it fits. We also do a sci-fi movie quiz for each other at the start of that. So it's kind of just a general catch-up pop culture. What have we been, watching and stuff. So if that sounds like a fun time, and that's kind of built for tangents, that show. So if you like that sort of thing, then go check out that. And of course, the other shows have bonuses as well. The Collector's Cut and Screams After Midnight have their own bonuses. So there's plenty to get on Patreon.
Curated by me.
One of the shows is curated by Tara.
I am executive producer, but I don't give money, so I don't get the credit. But it really should be like I really should, because I curate all the material.
For one show, for Collector's Cut Extra Reels, Tara picks all the terrible movies that me and David talk about.
Yes.
So.
Well, I mean, you say terrible, but
we've done about 6 of those, but we've recorded more. But I think there's 6 that are out, something like that. So.
But you guys like them. You definitely like talking about them.
I mean, that's fair. They're definitely crazy and have a lot to talk about. It's not like Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, where it's so simple and kind of bland in places where we end up tangenting. Like, there's a lot to dissect and madness to try and unravel in some of these movies.
Yeah.
Like, what were the decisions that went into moments?
The Paradise Motel. I'm saying another one is that.
That's not out for too much shit. You're spoiling things. Stop it.
Free on Tubi. I should check it out.
No. You'll regret that. Okay,
we need a Paradise Motel 2, damn it.
This has been Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been one of the most tangenty episodes we've done in a while. So apologies if you hate that.
It's like season 1.
Congratulations if you love that. But either way, I'm sure we'll have some thoughts on Future World next time. So join us for that. But this has been episode 202, I think. So
cool.
Thank you for watching. Keep watching science fiction. Honey, add salsa.